If you enjoy chaotic, real-life stories about people picking the wrong family, tap subscribe so you never miss the next one. Story 1. I was 10 in a grocery store when a Karen grabbed my wrist because I was tapping the freezer door while my mum compared prices. She told me I was a brat and needed discipline, so I told her to let go of me. She squeezed harder, and my mum instantly slapped her hand off me so hard the sound echoed down the aisle. The Karen started shrieking about assault, but the cashier had already called a manager and pointed at the security camera above us. Story 2. I was at a laundromat with my little sister when a woman started yelling that my sister was spinning the dryer door too much and breaking machines. My sister told her to stop screaming because she was giving her a headache. The woman leaned down and said, "Kids who talked back deserved a smack." I replied that if she touched my sister, I would scream so loud the cops would hear it across the parking lot. And apparently that was enough because she grabbed her basket and left like the building was on fire. Story 3. I was working a drive-thru window when a Karen leaned out of her car and started cussing at my mum, who was in the passenger seat, because our toddler was crying. She said people like us should not be allowed in public until we could shut our kids up. My mum climbed out of the car, walked right up to her door, and told her she had 5 seconds to apologise before things went sideways. The Karen laughed until my mum started counting out loud, and she peeled out so fast she left tyre marks on the pavement. Story 4. I was 13, waiting for pizza with my family, when a woman shoved my brother and told him to move because kids were in the way. My brother told her to use her words instead of her hands. She snapped that he was lucky she did not slap him, and my aunt immediately stepped between them and said, "Try it and see what happens." The woman looked her up and down, said she was not scared, and my aunt replied, "Good, because I am not scared of jail either." And that was when the manager ran over and asked the woman to leave. Story 5. I was in line at a theme park with my mum when a Karen accused my little cousin of cutting in front of her. My cousin said we had been there the whole time, and she needed to chill. The Karen shoved him backward into the railing and said, "Do not tell me to chill." My mum did not hesitate. She grabbed the woman by the shoulder, spun her around, and shoved her so hard she stumbled into the divider rope. Security showed up in under a minute and walked the woman out while she screamed about being attacked by a family of animals. Story 6. I was 16, sitting in a hospital waiting room when a woman started yelling at my sister because her baby would not stop fussing. She said if she had kids like that, she would have smacked them straight. My sister, who was exhausted and shaking from stress, stood up and told her that her son was about to go into surgery and she did not care about her opinion. The woman laughed and said, "Cry me a river." That was when my dad quietly said I would never hit a woman, but my wife will, and my mum absolutely lost it and shoved the Karen backward into a chair so hard it tipped over. And the nurse, who had been watching the whole thing, immediately escorted the woman out while everyone else pretended not to see anything. Story 7. I was 12 in a parking lot when a Karen screamed at my grandma for taking too long to load groceries. She told her to hurry up before she taught her a lesson. I told her she should learn some patience, and she stepped toward me like she was going to swing. My mum appeared out of nowhere and got right in her face and said, "You will not touch my kid." And the woman backed away so fast she tripped over her own bumper. Story 8. I was at a pool with my little brother when a woman started yelling that he was splashing too close to her chair. My brother told her it was a pool, not a library. She stood up and said one more word, and I will drag you out of here myself. I replied, "Go ahead." And my mum came marching over, grabbed the woman's towel off the chair, and tossed it straight into the water. The lifeguard banned her for the day while she screamed about being bullied by children. Story 9. I was waiting outside a school with my mum when a Karen accused my sister of scratching her car with her backpack. My sister said she had not even walked near it. The woman started yelling that kids were all liars, so my mum told her to stop talking to her daughter. The Karen replied, "Make me," my mum slapped the side mirror of her car so hard it folded inward and said, "There, now you actually have something to complain about." And the woman went completely silent. Story 10. I was in a fast food line when a Karen leaned over and told my little cousin to stop kicking the booth because she was getting a headache. My cousin told her he was not kicking anything. The woman said, "Do not lie to me," and poked him in the chest. My aunt stood up, grabbed the woman's finger, bent it backward just enough to make her yelp, and calmly told her never to touch her child again. The Karen left without her food, while the rest of the restaurant clapped like they had just watched a fight end early. Story 11. I was in a crowded thrift store with my mum when a Karen yanked a hoodie out of my little brother's hands and told him kids should not touch nice things. He told her it was already in his cart and to give it back. She laughed and said finders keepers, so my mum snatched it right back out of her hands and told her to try stealing from the wrong family again. The woman started screaming for security, but every customer around us had already watched her start it. Story 12. I was 15 in line at a Carnival game when a woman accused my cousin of cheating because he won a stuffed bear. She grabbed the bear and told him it was hers now because he did not deserve it. My cousin told her to let go, and she told him to make her. That was when my aunt stepped in, pried the bear out of her grip, and said the next thing she would take was her dignity if she did not walk away. The game operator had been watching and banned the woman from the booth for the rest of the night. Story 13. I was eating at a roadside diner when a Karen started yelling at my teenage sister because she was wearing shorts she thought were too short. She told my mum that girls who dressed like that invited trouble. My sister told her she was not her mum, and the woman leaned closer and said, "Maybe someone should be." My mum stood up so fast the booth shook and told her to mind her own body and her own business before she forgot how to speak politely in public. Story 14. I was at a playground when a woman started berating my little brother because he was swinging too high and it made her nervous. He told her he was not on her swing set. She grabbed the chain and told him to get down right now. My dad jogged over, lifted her hand off the chain, and calmly stated that if she touched his kid again, she would be learning about broken fingers from the inside of an ambulance. She left without another word. Story 15. I was working the register at a gas station when a Karen started screaming at my mum, who was in line behind me, because my baby niece was crying. She said people with loud kids should wait outside until they learned control. My mum replied that babies cry and adults should not. The woman leaned across the counter and said, "Say that again." So my mum did, louder, and the entire line started laughing while the Karen turned bright red and walked out. Story 16. I was 13 on a packed subway when a woman told my little cousin to stop leaning against her leg. He said he could not help it because the train kept jerking. She snapped that he should stand like a man, which made my cousin tell her she was not his boss. She raised her hand like she was going to smack him, and my uncle caught her wrist mid-air and told her very quietly that she had picked the wrong family to threaten. Story 17. I was at a community pool when a Karen accused my sister of stealing her sunglasses and started digging through her pool bag. My sister told her to get her hands out of her stuff. The woman replied that innocent people do not mind being searched, which was when my mum grabbed her bag and dumped it upside down on the concrete. Her sunglasses were sitting right there in her own mess, and she had to crawl around, picking up wet tampons while everyone stared. Story 18. I was waiting in line at a food truck when a woman started yelling at my dad because our toddler kept pointing at the menu. She said it was annoying and told him to control his kid. My dad replied that he was teaching him how to order, and she said, "We'll teach him somewhere else." That was when my stepmom stepped in front of my dad, smiled sweetly, and said, "You will not speak to my husband or my child like that ever again." And the woman backed away like she had just been threatened by a ghost. Story 19. I was helping my mom load groceries when a Karen accused my teenage brother of scratching her car and demanded he apologize. He told her he had not touched it. She got in his face and said, "You will respect your elders." So he replied, "You will respect reality." My mum burst out laughing, which pushed the woman over the edge, and she started screaming, but she could not point to a single mark on her car. Story 20. I was at a bowling alley when a woman started yelling at my little cousin for stepping on the ball return. She told him kids like him were why places like this got ruined. My cousin told her it was an accident and she needed to calm down. She snapped that she would teach him a lesson, and my grandma, of all people, stepped between them and said the only lesson happening today was in keeping your hands to yourself, and I swear I have never seen a grown woman retreat so fast. Story 21. I was in a checkout line when a woman snapped at my little sister for tapping the candy display. She told her to keep her sticky hands off everything or she would make her. My sister told her she was not the boss of her, and the woman stepped closer like she was about to grab her. My mum appeared between them in half a second and said, "You touch my kid and you will be leaving this store in a police car." And the cashier quietly called a manager while the Karen suddenly found something very interesting on her phone. Story 22. I was 12 at a skating rink birthday party when a Karen accused my cousin of tripping her son on purpose. She marched over and started yelling in his face while he was still on the floor. My cousin told her he had been pushed first, and she said, "Do not lie to me." My aunt grabbed her by the sleeve, pulled her back from the kid, and told her that if she wanted to fight someone, it would not be a child today. Story 23. I was in a drive-thru line when a woman leaned out her window and told my dad to hurry up because our minivan was ugly and blocking her view. He ignored her, so she laid on her horn non-stop. My mum rolled her window down, looked straight at her, and said, "You keep honking, and I am going to put this van in park and start rearranging your attitude." And that was the quietest drive-thru I have ever been in. Story 24. I was in a hospital hallway when a Karen started screaming at my teenage brother because he was leaning against the wall near her room. She claimed he was loitering and making patients uncomfortable. My brother told her his friend was in surgery and he was not going anywhere. She reached out and shoved his shoulder, and my mum grabbed the woman's wrist so fast it looked like magic and told her to keep her hands off her son if she liked having them attached. Story 25. I was sitting at a bus stop with my family when a woman told my little cousin to move because he was in her shade. He said he had been there first. She tried to pull him by the backpack strap, and my uncle yanked her hand away and told her that touching kids was how you end up on the evening news. She waited for the next bus. Story 26. I was in line at a buffet when a Karen accused my mum of cutting and started yelling in front of everyone. My mum calmly said we'd been standing there the whole time. The woman poked my mum in the chest and said, "Do not talk back to me." My mum poked her right back harder and said, "Do not put your hands on strangers if you want to eat today." Story 27. I was at a community pool when a Karen started screaming that my little brother was splashing her on purpose. He said he was just swimming. She grabbed his arm and tried to pull him out of the water, and my dad sprinted over and shoved her hand away so hard she almost fell into the pool herself. The lifeguard blew the whistle and banned her while she kept yelling that families were violent now. Story 28. I was helping my mum return clothes at a department store when a woman accused my teenage sister of switching price tags. She reached for my sister's bag to search it. My mum slapped her hand away and told her that unless she worked there, she had no right to touch her child, and the store manager backed her up immediately. Story 29. I was at a playground when a Karen told my little cousin to get off the slide because her kid wanted a turn. He said he was already in line. She tried to physically lift him, and my grandma of all people planted herself in front of the slide and said, Try it and see how many bones you want to break today. The woman left, dragging her kid behind her. Story 30. I was waiting in a pharmacy when a woman started yelling at my mum because my toddler cousin was crying. She said families like ours should be banned from public places. My mum replied that the only thing being banned today was her attitude, and when the woman called her trash, my mum laughed and said, "At least I am not the one picking fights with babies." If these stories made you laugh or feel a little second-hand justice, hit subscribe so more of these moments keep showing up in your feed.